Yes, the same kind of story that seems to come down from long ago. Two friends having coffee together when something flies by their window. It might be out on that lawn, which is wide at least half of a playing field. Because there's no explaining what your imagination can make you see and feel. Somebody wants nothing, maybe hypnotized. Now it's not a meaningless question to ask if they've been and gone. I remember a talk about North Carolina in a strange, strange poem. You see, the sides were like glass in the thick of a forest without a road. And if any man's hand ever made that land, then I think it would have showed. And that's why it seems like rain. They got me hypnotized. And I know that's right.
You're listening to the Debbie Daily Show.
If you're listening to the Debbie Daily Show, you better not click off or else find you and cut your head off.
What's up? This is the Fat Red Dragon from the 420 Grindhouse, and you're listening to the Debbie Daily Show.
Hi, you're listening to the Debbie Daily Show. Good job. All right, you're listening to the Debbie Daily Show. Now get down on your knees. I'm sorry. Hi. This is Becky, and you're listening to the Debbie Daily Show.
Unmuted.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Let me get my microphone here in front of me. Hi, guys. It's me, Debbie, with you here on Blog Talk Radio on Sunday, the first day of September. Excuse me. And we're simulcasting over on Spreaker. Let me check the feed over there. Yeah, they can hear me. And that was from the movie Exodus. Or actually, it's called Exodus, the song. I don't know much about it. But that was requested by Mr. Midnight Movie. And welcome to the show where we will be studying an in-depth look at one of the most talked about Bible books in the Bible, and that is the book of Genesis. Now, don't be shocked. Don't be, just hang on a minute. This isn't your normal Bible study, people. I've said many times, I don't even go to church, okay? I've got my own views on things, and I have my own relationship with things. And before I go any further, let me bring on, I think, my co-host, my guest co-host for this evening, and hopefully for the next several weeks on this. Now, this will be on Sunday nights only, okay? Let me see if this is him. Skype caller, you're on the air with Debbie.
Yeah, hi, Debbie. How are you? I've been here for about 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's only 10:05.
Okay. I wanted rather to go over a few things with you, but that's just fine. We can do it, what they call extemporaneously. So
Go over a few things with me. Did you know that I have had more people calling me about this show and contacting me through Skype and text messaging and Spreaker and TalkShoe and everything. It's been crazy. So a lot of people are looking forward to this. I hope that they are satisfied with what we bring to the table. What did you want to go over?
Well, yeah. Well, let me just comment on your comment there, because you obviously offer some very pregnant comments. Mm-hmm. If they don't hear what they want to hear, well, then all they have to do is call in and present what they want to hear. And if they want to, I know you have prepared extensively. I've prepared somewhat because I said I wanted it to be done in prose. Now, I can always attempt to do it in a profound way, but I'm sure you'll take care of that since we're working at it on a teeter-totter type basis, a balanced basis, as it were. You can dive as deep as you like, and I can be as superficial or vice versa. So I think we can cover it along those lines. But, you know, I personally don't want to be too technical, and I will say I want you to sort of be a check and balance there, because I do love this sort of thing, and it's easy for me, you know, to get very profound in the words. And some words are very important here. The name of God, for example, and some other names. But I'm going to try and keep it as light as I can. And I know you say it's an in-depth study, and I believe it can be both. I believe, you know, but I want the people to get the maximum benefit out of it, because like you say, this is not a church. Even though we're dealing with the Bible, I'm going to deal with the Bible, even though, you know, I am a professed believer. I'm going to deal with it in somewhat of an agnostic way. And I will be looking to learn from your in-depth study as a great source of excitement. So I will be learning as well as presenting, which I think is a balanced approach. So that's just, I want to give, obviously, a little bit of an introduction, and I'm sure I won't be able to get in all of my introduction because you're going to pair up with some of your introductory material, and I'm sure it'll be, you know, educational and entertaining simultaneously.
Let me just start out by saying that I'm very lucky to have you here on the broadcast. I know a lot of people say this and say that about you and about I. And I think that it basically boils down to they have a great respect for you and they call you somewhat of a genius. And I think if they all had a wish, it would be for you to call in and guest co-host with them. I think that you bring to the airwaves, to the internet airwaves, not the terrestrial, but the internet airwaves, something that everybody needs, something that we're all starving for, and that is education on something. I think all of us out there, Mr. Solution, are looking for something. We don't know what to hang on to anymore. We don't know what to believe anymore. We're scared. We don't know how long we're going to be here. If we're not here, we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know what is beyond. We don't know what has been. And I want everybody out there that is within the sound of my voice to know that I would not bring the following information to, I would not bring it if I did not 100% with every cell of my body believe in it. And I bring this also to my own children. I mean, that's how important it is to me. And again, like Mr. Solution said, and like I said, we're not Bible thumpers. We're not here to, to preach fire and brimstone and things along those lines. All we're here to do is go back in time and see if we can sort of unravel some of the secrets or the things that were there that maybe we didn't understand before, and give it to you in a very nowadays kind of a turn. And so yeah, with that, I just want to say a big welcome to you, Mr. Solution.
Yeah, and thank you. And another thing is, I think, through the cross-examination method, which is indeed the best probative or method of gathering information that we have, we can apply that here, and we can ask questions of anyone. Now, my reason for asking questions is to get satisfaction, just like eating. I want to be satiated. And as a result of that, I know that the same thing can be done mentally. I hope we can get an opportunity. We're going to bring in some experts, even if it's from YouTube. I think Dr. Weinberg's statement would be extremely appropriate because, he is an atheist, a lovable atheist, I might add. And his points are very poignant. But, even though I have the greatest respect for him as a scientist, I really have to question his theological background. And I think that's why we need all disciplines. We need science. Science gives us the facts, as it were. But science is also based on a certain amount of faith, the faith that we can know if we investigate. And if you read various scientific journals, you will see the word belief in there repeatedly. We believe X. We believe such and such. And that's fine. That's fine. So I think that as we proceed, we will, challenge beliefs, those that want to be challenged, and we're really looking for open minds, because this applies to everyone. This is across the board. All of us are faced with life. All of us are faced with death. They say there's one death per person, no exceptions. And so I think we will deal with that in a very matter-of-fact way. I do have scientific training, engineering. I also have training in the legal system, and I think I apply both of those professions very aptly, I might add. And so we should definitely enjoy this journey. The Book of and you can just say when we launch into it, if you want to go first, or I want to do an introduction. So we're doing this, as I say, extemporaneously or spontaneously. So it is what it is, as they say.
And I want to last time I think people were intimidated by what we were talking about, and they wouldn't call in. And I want to implore people to call in this time and ask questions. If you want to remain anonymous, I'll let you remain anonymous. You don't have to tell us who you are. I'm sorry, I was making notes while you were talking. And absolutely, call in and ask questions. I would, if I were listening, I would just be full of questions. So yeah, we're ready for any questions. I mean, and there's been people that they said they're going to be listening tonight, and they wanted to call in and be on the panel. And I said, sure. The only thing is I request that you stay on topic with us. But staying on topic with us does not mean that you're a Bible scholar. It doesn't mean that you're any sort of religious, attached to Judaism or Christianity or anything like that. Just call in and just talk. We are very easy to get along with. Would you agree?
Definitely. And
I'm excited about challenging Mr. Solution on a few issues that I have come across regarding the creation of this whole mess we live in called the world. And I hope to even challenge and shock Mr. Solution with some of the research that I have found. So, yeah. Whenever you're ready to get going. Now, the way we do this, let me write down this, we're right here, 1:6. The way we do this is we play a chapter of the book, which is usually not more than about a minute and a half to maybe even 2 at the most. Then we go and we discuss it. And usually he will give his commentary, then I will come back with my commentary. And but seriously, I will be watching the board, so please call in. And if that's it, Mr. Solution, I usually call him Mr. Solution, we can get this party going, as we say.
Absolutely. I'm ready to jump in with both feet, as they say, but I think it's very fitting to give an introduction to this. If the Bible is the book of books, and I think we expressed this earlier, of the 100 most important inventions or items that had an impact upon society, the Bible is listed as number 1. It is in the U.S. Senate. I mean, they open with prayer. We're just giving facts now, or I'm just giving facts. They open Congress with prayer. They tell me that the 10 Commandments, I've been to Washington, D.C. I haven't been in the halls of the Supreme Court, but they tell me the 10 Commandments are written on the walls of the Supreme Court. So and that's not just because this is a so-called Christian country. That is because these are standards that are necessary for a functional society. And, the 10 Commandments, you shouldn't steal, which presupposes property rights. You shouldn't kill. You can't, or murder, I should say. You just can't have people openly murdering people. And obviously, most civilizations have recognized that. And I think that's the reason, one of the few items in our law in which there's no statute of limitations upon, and that is the act or the crime of murder. So the 10 Commandments definitely point that out. But anyway, Genesis, it comes to us by way of Old English from the Latin, and it is Genesis, adopted as the title of the first book of the Old Testament in the Vulgate. And the Vulgate is the book that was written by Jerome, or what's called Saint Jerome. It is the version of the Bible, and it was written in the 4th century, and it is used as the authorized version of the Roman Catholic Church. So the word Genesis, of course, it means origin, creation, generation, and it's from the Greek. The Latin, Old English adopted it from the Latin, like we say, from the Vulgate, and it's from the Greek. And again, it means origin, creation, or generations. And The Hebrew, and you may have to forgive my pronunciation, it's either Bereshith, and it means in the beginning. So it's the first phrase of the Old Testament, and that's what it's called, Genesis. Again, it's the first book of the Old Testament. Its first words are in the beginning. It covers the time from the beginning of the world through the days of the patriarchs, including the stories of creation, Adam and Eve, the fall of man, Cain and Abel. Most of us recognize some of these from either Bible school or church or whatever, or just hearing it in general society. Noah and the flood, God's covenant with Abraham and Isaac, Jacob and Esau, and Joseph and his brothers. And I think a lot of this has actually come on TV, so we might get Mr. 3M Midnight Movie to express a little bit about the movie aspects, because many of these scenes settings have been televised. And
I don't think any bigger than the Ten Commandments, which was Exodus, correct?
I'm sorry, say again?
I said none being any bigger than the epic film, The Ten Commandments, which was about the book of Exodus.
Right. Good point. Now, Exodus, of course, is the next book, and we deal with the Pentateuch, and that's the first 5 books of the Old Testament. I believe in Hebrew, the Jews call it the Torah or the Law, and you had Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus,
Numbers, Deuteronomy.
I'm sorry, what?
Deuteronomy.
Yeah, it was actually Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, along with Genesis. So
right.
That's 5. Those are the 5 books. It says here, the author of this book was Moses under divine guidance. He may indeed have been led to make use of materials already existing in primeval documents, or even of traditions in a trustworthy form that had come down to his time. And it says, purifying them from all that was unworthy. But the hand of Moses is clearly seen throughout its composition. So when you read the Bible, you will see references to other books. So the writers, and that's not, that is not inappropriate, I might add, because, if God is indeed the creator of all, then all is accessible to bring the message to us. And we'll obviously deal with that. It says the first 5 books of Moses were collectively called the Pentateuch, and that's the word. It means 5-fold in the Greek. And we just named those books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy is just a repeat of the 40 years of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness. So that is some background on the book of Genesis. Like I say, it speaks for itself. It is beginning. It is the beginning. And I just want to share with you, there are 3 theories, basically, of creation. And those 3 theories just basically are, the universe was created by an eternal God. The universe is eternal in and of itself, or just the universe is eternal, or the universe created itself. And certainly we use logic in our understanding of anything, really. There has to be logic and reason to it. So the first 2 obviously deal with the eternal state, one way or the other. So you have an eternal God, or a universe that is itself eternal. And I can just say it would be a type of God in its own right. And, of course, the third point is that the universe created itself. We can eliminate the last one, because nothing can... create
that
itself?
the universe created itself?
Excuse me?
How does something create itself?
Hang on. Somebody just came on the line with us. His name is the One Angry Jew. Go ahead, One Angry Jew.
Walk me through that concept of something creating itself. If it's
Right,
creating itself, then it must exist already. The unmoved mover. So what created the universe? Because it certainly didn't create itself.
Right. That's a very good point, and that's what I was about to say. We can eliminate the third contention, because a thing would have to exist before it was in order to create itself. And that's
the concept of the unmoved mover.
Right.
Just who is the unmoved mover?
Can he hear us, Debbie?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying here...
He hears, he thinks.
I muted him so you could answer his question. Sometimes he doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying he's right about this. The universe cannot create itself. And we're dealing with the three contentions for the universe's existence. And one of the oldest questions of philosophical inquiry is really, why do we have anything? I mean, that's the question. Why do we have anything instead of just there being nothing? And, of course, a universe, or nothing can create itself. Even God could not create himself, because that's self-contradictory. A thing would have to, like I think One Angry Jew was saying, and I agree, something would have to exist before it was in order to create itself. So that's completely illogical, nonsensical. That has never happened under any circumstances. And we can't even imagine any circumstance in which something could create itself. And so, anyway, so we eliminate option 3. Now, option 1 and 2, the universe was created by an eternal creator. Obviously that's going to be the contention of Genesis. But the other runner-up is the universe is eternal. Well, science pretty much has proven that that's not true because, the second law of thermodynamics, which is called the decay law, and that's one of the most well-known laws of science, points out that the universe had a beginning and that it's actually winding down.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you say to people that ask you, if God created the heavens and the earth, who created God?
Right. Now, that's a very good question. That's an excellent question. There is a word called aseity, and that refers to God exists in and of himself, by himself. God does not have a creator. And if you think this through, something has to have the power of existence in order for there to be anything. I mean, we can sort of lay that down as now, most of us don't think this deeply, and I'm not trying to get us to think too deeply, but we do need to think, a little bit, along the deep level. God doesn't have a creator. God is eternal. God always existed. And God is the source of everything that does exist. And as we move on, we'll see that that is not illogical. It's not illogical. And it is absolutely necessary for there to be anything. Because obviously we have something, so something has the power of being. And I always say the most powerful word in any language is the word be, be. And it's, derivations, am, was, is, those forms of the word to be, as it were. So God is the be. God exists of his own self. God has life within himself. And that's the way God is presented. God is outside of time, and God is actually the creator of time. But see, that's the reason we need a book such as Genesis, because just like a child wants to know where it came from. Who is its mommy? Who is its daddy? And that's a reasonable question, by the way. And we as adults, now some of us have become hardened, and that's unfortunate. Hopefully we can soften up a little bit. So we have basically those same needs, and that's a very good question, and that's the way I would respond to that question. Is something has to start everything that is, and God basically says, "I'm the one." God takes credit for being the prime mover of everything. So, does that answer the question?
Sort of, yeah. I believe that God has no need to have been created because He exists outside of time, where cause and effect don't even operate, right? And having said that, within multiple dimensions of time, He exists, so He is eternal, having never been created, right? Think about it.
Right, and the word is it's ASCEITY, I believe, aseity. It's a very important word. That's one of the words that, and I know you know, being the quick-fingered and witted person you are, you may want to just look that word up so we can have that as a platform, because our words do have to be in alignment. Aseity. That is a very, very important word, and it describes God's nature to a large degree. Do you have it?
Yeah, tell me one more time. I was reading something, but spell it for me. Aseity?
Yeah.
Is that A what? A-S?
I believe it's A-S-C-E-I-T-Y.
Yeah, that's what I think it is, too. Let's take a look. Aseity. No, nothing found. Let's try it one more way. A-C-I-E-T-Y. I've got aseity. No, that's not it. Somebody have any aseity? I am not finding it here. Aseity. I wonder if it's...
Okay, we can come back to it.
Okay.
I'll double check. I'll look it up. It's a little bit... it's not a French word, but it's not phonetic. So I'll check it out. Or maybe someone who's sharp has already looked it up.
I think I have it. They're saying it is A-S-I-E-T-I-T-Y, and it is defined as the let's see what I can figure out here. Okay, where is aseity? That's not it. It says the Eastern Christian understandings of things is a bit different from the Western Protestant one. It says, I don't know. Here it is. I'm sorry. The Christian East believes that only the Father has aseity. To us, the idea of each person having aseity means tritheism, or three eternal separate God. To us, aseity is linked to the ideas of independence, division, and autonomy. Does that help?
Okay, yeah, I have it here. I'm sorry. It's A-S-E-I-T-Y, aseity, existence originating from and having no source other than itself. So it's A-S-E-I-T-Y. And here's the pronunciation. Don't you love this technology? I'm telling you. Let's see. Try it again.
Aseity. Aseity.
Aseity. Yeah. All right. I'm with it. I'm there.
And again, it's existence originating from and having no source other than itself. And so what it's saying here is that God exists by His own power. Now, most of us realize we don't exist by our own power. You know, we were having this discussion. I was taking a meditation class recently, and oxygen, even though food and water are very important, oxygen is an essential nutrient. We can live without water for several days. We can live without food for a good number of days, maybe a couple of weeks. But we can't live without air for more than a few minutes. And of course, the contrast there is we are dependent for our lives. God is not dependent. God has his life within himself. And that's a beautiful and a wonderful thing. And I often say it's wonderful that God is good, although some people may disagree with that. But I think that's a misunderstanding of the Old Testament. But at any rate,
we have some questions from the chat room. How old is the earth? Were dinosaurs around? Did they walk with Adam and Eve? Genesis is specifically wrong in every way, from God separating the waters to making plants before sun. Did Adam name all the animals, all the billions alive? What about the animals that went extinct before that? Okay. Lots of questions that maybe we don't even have the answers to. We'll try to do as best as we can. I know that.
Yeah, well, let's look at that. And we're going to present the text itself. It'll speak for itself. What I want to say to people is realize that if you reject the text, then the question becomes, well, what's your answer? And I notice a lot of times people, they want to bombard, and I think some people ask out of legitimacy, and that's fine too. And I don't purport to answer every question. I think I can answer the major questions, and certainly the questions I need to put my faith where it needs to be. But we want people to understand that maybe we would like to ask you some of those questions for the existential, reality that we see. How do you understand that it came about? But we will definitely look at that because God specifically, or the book of Genesis specifically, assigns all of creation, everything in creation, to the God called Elohim, or that's the name for God in the Hebrew, the one of plenitude, the one with a plenitude of power, ample power. And where was I? Okay, we were just wrapping up the various theories for why anything exists. That is the universe and all it contains. And the word universe is Latin for all that there is. Now, there is the term multiverse, but I think that term clouds the issue. Universe refers to everything that is, and that's the way I'm going to use it for clarity purposes. So, obviously, we say the universe did not create itself. Science has shown us that the universe is not eternal, that it is losing heat, and it's running down. They even talk about the big crunch. We had the Big Bang where everything expanded outward, and then, of course, the big contraction, which will end the universe as we know it, is called the Big Crunch. And obviously the first runner-up, and the one I think is that makes most sense, is that the universe was created by an eternal being, by an eternal sentient personality who is called God. And so I think that makes the most sense, and that's what Genesis is presenting.
I want to read something. I want to read something. It says, "Is it really true that entire universes can appear from nothing? The quote-unquote science is based upon the real science of quantum mechanics, which has shown that particles can appear from nothing and disappear into nothing. Atheist scientists say that nothing is unstable and spontaneously produces some things. Although the statement is true in a limited sense, atheists aren't telling you the whole story. Why is that? Although these virtual particles appear based upon some probability statistic, they also disappear spontaneously based on the same probability. In other words, these particles are not stable and do not behave like the stuff that we regularly encounter in our macroscopic world. One would never expect a tennis ball to just spontaneously appear or disappear, although it is theoretically possible. The reason why a macroscopic object would never behave like a quantum particle is that so many unlikely events would have to transpire simultaneously for such an event to occur. The fallacy that Victor Stenger and other anthropic principle antagonists promote is that probabilistic quantum events apply to the macro world. They never provide any evidence that such an assumption is true. He also wants you to believe that we can ascribe creative properties to nothing on the basis of measurements within the box. Of course, that assumption is also false. There is no nothing in the universe from which we can make measurements. Space, time, matter, and energy all came about during the event referred to as the quote-unquote Big Bang, some 13.8 billion years ago. The entire universe is bathed in the cosmic background radiation of the quote-unquote Big Bang in every square angstrom of space-time. The problem has gotten more extreme recently with the discovery of dark energy, a component of the universe that also affects everything, including the very fabric of space-time. Of course, the laws of physics, including quantum mechanics, operate through the universe, so there are no examples of nothing within the box. I want to try to sort of mingle science with what would you call it? Religion, I guess, whatever, in our study.
Well, reality, and
reality.
You're doing a very good job. Actually, Herbert Spencer was the one who postulated the 5 unknowables by which everything else is determined: time, space, matter, motion, and energy. And you're exactly correct, Debbie. A lot of times people are intimidated by scientists who really feed them a line of bull because, nothing has ever been observed. There are phenomena that aren't fully explained or understood. But the point of it is, everything they're talking about, even when they talk about nothing, they talk about it in the context of space. And space is not nearly nothing. Space has been defined as the theater in which everything takes place. Like when you see actors on stage, oftentimes you don't think of the stage, but the stage is very important because it's the venue whereby all the action takes place. And so that's what space actually is. And they have also, you mentioned a very important point of dark matter. Dark matter has been defined as it's a quantity of energy in a particular amount of space. And I think dark matter, they say, makes up about 80% of the overall energy of the universe. And it's not understood very well at all. In fact, some scientists say it may exist in another dimension. So it may never fully be understood. But they can understand its impact just like they do gravity by its impact upon the what they call the cosmological constant, the expansion of the universe, in other words, because the dark matter is what is responsible for the expansion of the universe. So, at any rate, I noticed Dr. Krauss was attempting to call DNA nothing. He was saying something can come out of nothing. And, of course, he was corrected by the scientist, what is his name, the biologist, atheist, and he even corrected Dr. Krauss and said, well, the DNA is not nothing, it's something. And then he attempted to say, that is Dr. Krauss, well, something can come from nothing because I can take space, and he was talking about the unstableness of space, and he was corrected again to say, space is not nothing. Space is something. So they're trying to, confuse us by using something.
As a mother, I almost find it insulting to say that something cannot be created from nothing. I mean, I created 2 unbelievable things over here. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it's so fascinating to me sometimes to stand back and watch my two children. I mean, they're grown children, and to look at them and to think they came from nothing. I mean, just, you know what I mean? It's amazing when you look at the human. Just the creation of a human is amazing. That's amazing to me. You know what I mean? It just basically...
Well, it is, but we're not saying they came from obviously a prerequisite. They came from you, and they came from God has given us the ability, even though sometimes we wrongly use it, to procreate, and that's a beautiful thing when it's done properly. But the notion of something coming from nothing is unknown. It's unknown in science. It's unknown in reality. Because that would violate the law of cause and effect. And, of course, it would also violate the law of inertia. But nevertheless, when you're ready, I think we've really, what time is it now? Yeah, 8:44. So we've spent about 40 minutes with an introduction. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready to actually let the text speak, and then we can certainly comment on it.
Absolutely. I can't wait till we get to Genesis 6 because I want to talk about the giants. I've done extensive research on the giants. I can't wait to talk about the Nephilim. It's called
the Nephilim, huh?
The Nephilim. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'm all over that.
Wait a minute. The sons of Anak.
Yes. I'm all over that. So let's get going here with Genesis 1 as read by our brother Max McLean.
Exactly.
The Book of Genesis, Chapter 1. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the vault, and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky. And there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky." So God created the great creatures of the sea, and every living thing with which the water teems and that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful, and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the land produce living creatures, according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 6th day.
Okay, there we go. I've made some notes. He said... Go ahead.
Go ahead, Debbie.
What did he mean by our image? I wrote that down. Why did he say fill the earth and subdue it? And
Right.
all plants for food.
Debbie, let me tell you.
Okay.
This was so beautifully executed. I said, there need be no more. This is it right here. I'm just teasing, of course, but in a way I'm not. I mean, just what I heard was just so inspiring. Because just think of it. I used to read Reader's Digest quite a bit, and they had a penchant or they were inclined to present things in a very succinct way. Now, just what has just happened here is from the beginning, the creation of the universe, plant life, animal life, the celestial beings, bodies, as it were, everything was described in 31 little verses. Now, I defy anyone to match that.
Oh, shit. And I thought my Thanksgiving dinners were something to behold.
This is absolutely phenomenal. Just the succinctness, the extreme brevity and conciseness of what has been stated. But at any rate, I know it does bear some discussion, so we'll go ahead and do that. But I am absolutely elated with this narrative here. So what it says here is, in the beginning, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So this is very, very clear. God did it, and we have time, space, matter, motion, and energy. We have all the 5 unknowables by which everything else is measured, presented right here. And I think the NASA astronauts, when they either went into space or landed on the moon, this is the quote. They quoted, from the scriptures. And I'm not saying that needs to appeal to everyone, but what I am saying is they felt it was important enough to, recite, I think, God's word at that monumental event. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So, it says right there, who done it? God says, I did it. Okay? In the beginning. So, in the beginning, we see God taking action. And obviously, this beginning refers to the beginning of time, just like in John chapter 1, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Those are the same beginnings that are recited at that in the text of John. And that's the same concept that's being presented here. And as we said earlier, that's why it's called Genesis, God is saying how the universe, he's telling us as his children, as his creation, as his offspring, this is how it happens.
Right.
So God is breaking the mystery and letting us know. So I would say, in a sense, the creation has to be revealed to us. You know, imagine being created. I mean, you weren't there, you weren't conscious when it happened, so someone has to explain it to you, just like you explain the birth of your child to your child. And, of course, that is usually satisfactory and quite enjoyable because now you have a grounding. You know from whence you came. So that's what God is saying here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And it says, now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Now, what happens from this particular point on, because chapter 1, verse 1 is a completed statement. That's what you call a declarative sentence in English. It is a completed statement. The rest of the narrative goes on to explain how God prepared the earth for human habitation. So that's what you have being explained. This is an overview here that, you know, it's talking about how he separated the waters, created the sky, created the dry land, and so on and so forth. Now, we can go through these, but I just wanted to point out what's going on here just to make it as lucid as possible. Any questions? I mean, Debbie, any questions so far?
I don't know. I have so many questions about why did he call it the vault? I mean, because if I think of a vault, I think of something that's locked and you're not allowed to go into the vault, or something that's packed away, or something. I have so many questions. It's ridiculous. It could go on forever. The book of Isaiah, chapter 57, quotes God, and God is not quoted all that much in the Bible. It says, "For this is what..." Now, Isaiah was a prophet, right?
Yes.
A prophet that believed he could communicate with God and hear from God. And he says, "For this is what the high and exalted one says, he who lives forever and whose name is holy. I live in a high and a holy place, but also with the one who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite." I found that was interesting. We were just talking about God, so I'm sure that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but anyway.
No, that's beautiful. But let's just go back and answer your question, because I think legitimate questions should be answered.
Right.
They should be addressed. Now, the word vault here, and...
Are you there?
Oh, goodness. I guess I'm having technical difficulties again.
Oh, you're okay.
But I did... well, no, I'm not. I turned down the volume. But I did look the word up. And... well, no, I'm not. I turned down. No, what it says here, vault, is a space, a chamber, or passage enclosed by a vault or vault-like structure. It says a room or a compartment. It says an arch, a space, a chamber or passage. Okay, so it is, now the King James uses the word firmament. So really what it means is the sky.
The sky?
Hello?
But where do we get vault? Are you there?
Well, that's the word translated. They're synonymous terms. The word vault and sky are the same word. Okay?
Yeah, but I guess I just
don't...
So,
I mean, that's just word definition right there.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's defined as a space, a chamber, and so what was going on is, and he was separating the waters, and there was water suspended above the earth. We'll get to that. It's called a canopy, and you'll see that comes into play during the deluge, where that was part of the water that flooded the earth. And remember, air actually contains water. You can take a volume of air and actually reduce it to water, to moisture. Condense it. I should use the term condense it to water. So that's what it means. The word vault or the word firmament. I have both the King James. I have them here parallel, and so the now you may agree that in verse 6, now it uses the word. It says God called the vault sky, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and it says in verse 6, I'm reading the King James, and God said, let there be a firmament. So I actually looked those two words up last night. So firmament and vault both mean sky. So is that okay?
Okay, right, exactly. I'll go with that.
Yeah, okay. So, yes, it says here, now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So this hovering here is obviously God is in the creative act. This is a beautiful thing. We have a master builder here that is going about his work. So I'm just standing back as one of the audience and just marveling at the work that's being done. So proceeding here, it says, now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Now that's going to be remedied by the master builder. It says, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Now the beautiful thing here, we say, how does God create? Well, God speaks. God can just speak things into existence. No matter how much science we study or we have it right here, supernatural activity is going on in order for the reality that we know to exist, for it to exist. Supernatural activity is taking place here. And I think it's a wonderful thing when it's properly understood. So God speaks things into existence. So what we have God doing here in verse 3 of Genesis chapter 1, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So by the power of God's being, he speaks things into existence. And verse 4, of course, says, God saw the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Now, one of the things that people talk about is the day-age, scenario. That's not really, the language here doesn't allow for that, because day can be an age. It can be a period of time, but here, when you have the number 1 attached to day, it is the days as we know them. And we'll see corroboration of that in Exodus, I believe, chapter 20, where Moses, the author of the book, is telling the Israelites, and they were not a greatly educated people, what you call super sophisticated people. They were just normal people. There's nothing wrong with that. And my point here is he was presenting this information to them in a way that they could understand it. And they did understand it, by the way. And this goes to the Sabbath day, or the seventh day, the day of rest that they were to observe. And so what we have here is, God calling what we call it today. We call it night, the absence of sunlight, and we call day, the presence of sunlight. So that hasn't changed. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
No, I want you to.
I was listening, but I was also simultaneously sending out an email to somebody that I think is going to be on our show next Sunday with us. And I'm just going to let that be a surprise.
Well, again, what do you think about the notion of God speaking things into existence, in this case, light, and he's calling them by the name that we call them today, day and night.
I think it's amazing. I think I'm listening to every word you're saying, and I'm in complete agreement with everything you're saying. I feel like I'm listening to a professor teach on sort of a mix of philosophy and spiritualism with I'm just listening to you, to be honest with you. I don't have anything to add so far.
Well, again, and thank you. The power of this is God can speak things into existence. Now, human beings, being godlike, being created in the image of God, you think the power of a monarch or the power of a president, the president speaks things into existence too. Now, of course, human beings have to carry it out, but still, it's the Word. It's the power of the Word and the one that's speaking the Word. And even we are told to, speak according to truth, speak your reality, live your reality. So I think all of us have an essence of creative ability. Even though it may not be just like God does it, it is in the sense that it's ideas that we carry or to fruition. We bring about our reality. And that's what God is doing here in a supernatural way, which I think is just absolutely fabulous and spectacular. Verse 6 says, "And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate waters from waters. So God made the vault and separated the waters under the vault from the waters above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day." So we see the first day God created light, and and on the second day the waters were separated. The sky was created, in other words. So we talk about the water being above, and this may account for the longevity of what we call the antediluvians, is that there was a canopy that really, the same sun that gives us life also ultimately kills us, the radiation, and you can see some people age really rapidly who, inappropriately lay out in the sun and get all wrinkly and this kind of stuff. And that's the sun's deteriorating effect. It's breaking them down. And so this could be one reason that there was, these people attained such great ages, is because there was this water that filtered out the harmful rays of the sun. It created something like a greenhouse effect. So the earth was really a marvelous and beautiful place. It was like a paradise. Okay. So any questions on that? So we have the sky created on the second day. God is preparing the earth for human. I
do have an argument. I've always thought. I always believed that antediluvian meant before the flood, not. What did you say? You said. What did you say?
Right. That is before the word ante, A-N-T-E.
Right.
And that means the people who preceded the flood. They lived before the flood.
Now, have you ever considered, because a lot of people are wondering what happened with the dinosaurs, what happened to the cavemen, things along those lines. I believe that it was definitely before the time that we're discussing right now. I believe that this is more or less a recreation, much like when he recreated the earth after the flood, okay? Now, a lot of people say that there was a big bang. I've often wondered, this is going to sound kind of nuts, but I could care less, if God did not see when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and things along those lines, that he just blew it up. You know what I mean? I mean, just boom. And hence the Big Bang Theory. What do you think about that? Did I just throw you out of your chair?
Oh, no, that's fine. And, there's room for speculation.
Oh, there's questions coming in. There's questions coming in to me from everywhere on all sides. I knew they were going to do this.
Well, yeah, I'll do the best I can. Well, like I say, within the context of our study, there's room for speculation, there's room for analysis and examination. I think we may want to ask people, well, what issues are you really raising regarding the dinosaurs? I think there's evidence that the dinosaurs existed, and that's like irrefutable.
On this planet. I mean,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, on this planet. But like, take an example, and they say that the dinosaurs, that just means giant lizard. Now, we have what's called Nile crocodiles. We have alligators. We have, obviously, elephants. I've never come in contact with an elephant. Now, I know some are in the zoo. But what I'm saying here is we live on a large planet. I mean, even though it's 3/4 water, there are lots of land masses. I have never come face to face with a crocodile, and some of them, I understand, can get up to 20 feet long. Now, they are in a particular place. I know where they are. They're called Nile crocodiles. But the point is, dinosaurs could have, existed, during the time of man. They could have. There's no reason. I think some evidence has presented they found a dinosaur footprint and a human footprint. I don't know that we automatically have to see there being a problem with that. And I would just ask you, what is the problem that's being raised, that's not being really asked? So what's the problem with this issue of the dinosaurs?
People are just wanting to know where they play into the Bible. I think I may have some answers where it says that an aura of mystery surrounds dinosaurs. Where did they come from? Did they evolve? Did they really live millions of years ago? What happened to them? Are they living today? Has anyone ever even seen a dinosaur? Children and adults alike are absolutely fascinated with these monsters. Numerous books and movies have been made about them. The truth of the matter is there are no real mysteries at all once you have key information that is not generally known and generally is withheld from the public. Dinosaurs did, in fact, roam the earth in ancient past. Fossils have been found all over the world, and bones are displayed in museums, okay? When were they found? The story of the dinosaur discovery began in the 1820s when Gideon Mantell, an English doctor, found some unusual teeth and bones in a quarry, and then hence blah, 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 blah. When did they live? Well, the story we have all heard from movies, television, newspapers, and so on and so forth say that they lived millions of years ago. However, according to evolutionists, the dinosaurs, quote-unquote, ruled the earth for 140 million years, dying at about 65 million years ago. However, scientists did not dig up anything labeled with those ages. They only uncovered dead dinosaurs, the bones, and their bones do not have any labels telling us how old they were. The ideal of millions of years is just the evolutionist story about the past. No scientist was there to see the dinosaurs and therefore cannot swear to it. The Bible, God's very special book, claims that each writer has supernaturally inspired to write exactly what the Creator of all things wanted him to write down for us so that we know where we and dinosaurs came from. The Genesis teaches us many things about how the universe and the life came into existence. Genesis tells us how God created everything. Although the Bible does not tell us exactly how long ago it was that God made the world and its creatures, we can make a good estimate of the date of creation by reading through it. It says, I'm going to get the answer. Just let me keep doing this while we keep going. And the Bible teaches in Genesis 1:29-30 that the original animals and the first humans were commanded to be vegetarian. There were no meat eaters in the original creation. Furthermore, there was no death. It's an unblemished world with Adam and Eve and animals, including dinosaurs, living in perfect harmony. Interesting. I don't know. I just had somebody send me 2 text messages saying, were dinosaurs in the Bible? Were they in the Bible? I don't know. Everybody slow down. We're going to get to everything.
Yeah, exactly. Good And I think in verse 24 we will get to that, and it says, "And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind." So, yeah, and it was so, and it was true, same thing. So we do have an account for animal and plant life being created by God as a special creation, by the way. This is not evolution. This is a special creation as the text is presenting it. And I might add, too, and you know, I notice this is overlooked many times, God does create with the appearance of age. Because remember, Adam and Eve were not created as babbling babies. They were created as fully grown, sentient, they're adults. So I think we may take some of this into account. And the food that was created, the trees, this was miraculous. They were created. I'm sure I'm a fruit lover, so I'm sure this was the best fruit ever. And these trees and plants were created with fully grown fruit. And this was done, as the text says, in 6 days. Now, you know, where science disagrees, and I have to choose between science or what the scriptures say, because I know science is constantly unfolding, I think I'll go with the scriptures, because science doesn't have all the answers either. And science certainly doesn't have the answer of morality. It doesn't present how to use the power that it develops. So science may develop an atomic bomb, but it doesn't say whom you may drop it on or if you should drop it on anyone, but obviously we did and are poised to do so. So I think we need to understand that science doesn't answer everything, and we need to be fully conscious of that.
Okay, perfect. Exactly. Vic and I are sitting here listening to you. Exactly. We're not going to have all the answers. I mean, we're not. We're going to try to bring as much as we can to the masses. Let me check the board before we go much further. We have callers on the board. I think it's just Dalton. I hope he stays on topic. Dalton, what's up?
I'm sorry, Deb, but I have some really good news I want to tell you.
Okay, what's up? Can it wait, or can we stay on? We're really on a hot topic here.
I understand, but I'm going to be going to bed soon.
Call tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I'm back to just my show. Tonight, Sunday nights are a special show from now on. Well, for a while anyway. All right, baby?
All right, I'll call tomorrow night then.
You better call tomorrow night, or I'm going to call you. Does it have to do with what we did?
Yeah.
Oh boy, did it work?
No.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have to. It's something better.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to be waiting with bated breath then to hear what it is. Okay?
Well, basically, the voicemail I left you, everything is on it.
All right. I'll be waiting. I'll listen to that. I'm tied into the show on my cell phone, so I can't listen to it right now, but I'll do it after the show goes off. Sound good?
Okay. And then text me what you think.
Okay. Of course I will. I always do.
All right. Bye.
All right, baby. Bye. It's Dalton. Sorry.
Okay, great. So we have we finished the first day. We had day and night created, and some people may laugh at that, and I thought of that too. But we need that. We still use day and night. That governs our lives. And of course, we have on the second day we have the sky created, the vault, as it were, or the firmament, where God separated the waters from the water. So it appears that the earth was just full of water. It was just filled with water, and God separated it. And so in verse 9 we have here, and God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and gathered the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. So here we have another wonderful thing taking place. We have dry ground. Now, a lot of us take this for granted, but if you're ever flooded, you can appreciate dry ground. Trust me. And this is what God has done. So this was going into day 3. This is the work of the Creator. Verse 11 said, then God said, let the land produce vegetation. Now, this is very, very important for human beings because we need to eat. Everything we get comes from the earth. And you'll find out, just in a short span of time here, human beings themselves originally came from the earth. And I think science will verify that. If you ever, when you take your daily vitamin, look at the contents of it, the copper, the iron, the zinc, the selenium, and so on and so forth, elements, minerals, directly from the earth. It says in verse 11, then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it. And we know that a watermelon is actually a fruit, whereas a potato is a vegetable. It says, according to their various kinds. So here we have vegetation, which is crucial for producing food and oxygen. They talk about the destruction of the rainforest, that produces a large percentage of the Earth's oxygen. So vegetation is being created here by God. And it was so. And verse 12, the land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruits with seeds according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. So here we have God producing vegetation. It's being done in a very orderly fashion. And, if you recall your biology class, 101, where they had things into phylums, genus, kinds, and so on and so forth, and that's being spoken of here, the various division of plant life. Now, you see this in plant and animal life, but there is going to be a contrast when you get to human life, and I think a lot of the discussions that we have really center around a misunderstanding of, really how man was created and what he was created for. But, of course, we have the third day, we have vegetation created. Any comments on this, Debbie? I want to hear your comments.
Oh, I understand. No, I'm fine. I'm sort of working in the chat rooms. I've got 3 chat rooms going right now. I'm kind of working in the chat rooms, but I'm doing great.
Do they have questions? Or, do they want
Stabby,
questions? Do they
Stabby,
have
call
comments?
in. Stabby, call in, because this is great for you. It'll be so much easier than typing in the chat room.
Yeah, because you know what, Debbie, if I may say so, it would be great if you would, instead of working with the chat room, express your ideas on it. Because I don't know what's going on in the chat room. I don't have it open. But I think one thing that the chat room people can do is call in or, ask questions, or particularly to call in. Because, look, now, we get on these other topics and we fight and bloviate, but this is something that's has universal appeal. And I think we should contribute to it. That's my opinion.
I'm sorry, I was trying to say, call in and go one-on-one with Mr. Solution. He's not mean.
Or you.
Or me. I am very
Or you, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, anyway, in verse 14, it says, and God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky. Now, here we go again with this vault, and he says vault of the sky, and I'm sure this would be expanse And God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. Now, right here, some people pick up a contrast between here and verse 3. That is, and I looked that up too, and one of the things that pointed out, now God is light, but it was pointed out that light had not been assigned specifically to the moon, or they hadn't, or in other words, the haze hadn't been cleared away. And obviously there can be, different views on this. But we do see day and night being specifically assigned to the sun, moon, and stars now. And possibly, as I said earlier, there was a completed act in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, that everything was created at this particular time, and then the earth was prepared for human habitation. But some people, and I think you raised this issue earlier, they say, well, here we have the sun and moon created, and it doesn't appear to be the source of light in chapter 3. Well, it could indeed be, as some Bible expositors have said, is that the light was chaotic at that time, and it was diffused. But now, the cloud or the haze, just like the water had been separated in order to give clarity to the land, so the haze or whatever haze existed or mist was removed so that the sunlight could come through as it was designed to do. But nevertheless, it goes on to say here, and God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. So, that's consistent with God having created the universe. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day. So God is really taking care of business here. He's creating, the environment that we currently enjoy. And sure, it's been marred by transgression, but there's still a lot of beauty in the earth. I think most of us that are living right now are enjoying life to some measure, and we wouldn't want that denied us. So we are in the blessing, as it were. Verse 20 here says, and God said, let the waters teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky. So God created great creatures, and this answers that question that was asked earlier. So God created, verse 21 of chapter 1, so God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the waters teem that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the water in the seas and let the birds increase on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. So this is tremendous. We have bird life. We have ocean life or oceanic life being created. So this is fabulous. And all of us benefit from this to this day, one way or the other. Verse 24, it says, and God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kind, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds. This word kind keeps cropping up. So there is a limit to the interbreeding capabilities of these animals. They are limited in their access to each other. They are to remain distinct. It says, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds, and God saw that it was good. So here we've had plant life, we have oceanic life, and now we have terrestrial life. We have all these different forms, or different forms of flesh being created. They're not the same. They're different. And I don't know if that sparks anyone's, ideas toward evolution, but these animals don't have a common origin. They have a different origin. So at any rate, and we look at verse 26, then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock, and over all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. This is very interesting here, as everything else is, because man was created in the image of God, and we can certainly talk about what that means. I have some ideas about it. And they were created. Go ahead.
Why does he say the word our?
Right. Well, the word our, I think, is a peek. It's a revelation into the nature of God, God himself. And when I use the term him, referring to God, obviously there are the features. Mankind, and it says that here, mankind, which refers to man and woman. But God obviously is above man and woman. God is supernatural. But this is a convention. This is just the way we communicate. God has expressed himself as a person, a supernatural person, one with personality, with thought processes and feelings and this sort of thing. And so this is why I use the personal pronoun, and it's often capitalized when it refers to God himself. But he says the us here, and I think he is obviously referring to, we use the word Trinity, the triunity of God. And what it means in Christian theology is that God has one nature, that of God, eternal, this sort of thing, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Is that right? Omnipotent, all power, omnipresent, everywhere at once, or ubiquitous. What's it? Omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Okay, omniscient refers to all-knowing. It has the word sense in it. And the word omni, the prefix, that's Latin for all. So all knowledge, all powerful, and everywhere at once. So that's the nature of God. But also, with the beings that share that nature are three beings, as it reveals. We've seen the Spirit hovering, and now we see the us, and that is a plural pronoun. And so I think it refers to the revelation of the presenting of God as being three distinct persons, but still unified as the one true God. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense. Yes.
Okay, because that is hard for people to grasp. When I first read the term God, it's a uniplural noun, and it does have for plurality of power, but it does express the oneness. And I think God is very, very careful to guard the oneness, the oneness of the nature of God. There's one God, but we see the us expressed here. But at any rate, it says, let us make man in our image. Now, theologians have discussed this and debated this. What is the image of man being a corporal creature, human? that reflects the eternal God. What is that image? I mean, God is invisible. Man is obviously visible. So it's not that. We can go ahead and eliminate that. But I think, what they've said is God is rational, and he's transferred that to man. Rational, personal, and moral. Those are at least three of the characteristics that are described as the image of God in man. God is rational, God is personal, and obviously God is moral. God doesn't lie, God doesn't steal, God doesn't do anything that is contrary to God's nature. And so that image of and we talk about people being good, and there are good people. And I think that these characteristics are reflected in good people. And when we're training people, when we're training our children, and training young people, we are trying to give them these particular characteristics and quality: integrity, don't steal, do this to get ahead the right way, don't break the law, don't, and this sort of thing. So that comes into the moral aspect. And the personal aspect, obviously, the way we relate to each other. No other creature relates to the other the way we can. In fact, you're going to see that God created us to relate to each other better than we can to God himself. And that's something that we'll see that in chapter 2. But that is very, very important, because just jumping ahead a little bit, when there was an unbroken relationship between God and man, and I know Dr. Dyer talked about, now he doesn't believe in...
Mr. Solution, can I interrupt you for just 1 second?
For sure, please.
We've got a problem. They're saying in the chat room that they don't hear us. Everyone is saying it, and they've refreshed several times. I mean, I show all systems are go. I don't have a problem. So I show we're here. All the meters are running just fine, and I show we're connected. We've got a stream going with Blog Talk Radio. The clock is running. The on-air light is on. Everything's fine. I don't know why they can't hear me or you, but every one of them is saying it. I don't know. I can
refreshing may work. Let's see if I can hear.
Hang on. Let me check me. Hello? No, here's the phone. Hello? No, we're fine. I don't know what it is. I can hear fine. Everybody else can. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I was just checking mine. Let's see.
Can you hear us? Victor said we're fine on Spreaker. Got you. Thank you, Vic. He says we're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why they can't hear us.
They can always, I hope they can get a feed, but they can always go back to the archives. And
well, they've refreshed 20 times now. I don't know why.
Fresh, yeah, there you go, that too.
Well, they've done that.
I heard you say, Debbie, that there's a problem with Firefox, and I've experienced some problems with Firefox myself.
I don't know. We're fine. We're fine.
We'll get back. We'll get back to it then. Is that okay?
Sure, great.
Yeah. So I was saying that the invisible, omnipotent God is transferring, and this is a tremendous thing. This is a spectacular, phenomenal thing, if you please, and that is that God is transferring an image of his likeness, in our image, in God's image, in our likeness. Let me just read it. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So what God is doing is grant-deeding the earth to mankind. And he's just saying, this is the only thing you need to do to be, I created you perfectly, or perfect. And this is your only This is the only thing that I'm forbidding you to do. Now, you think all the laws we have today, and God just had one law that man was not supposed to violate, man and woman. And outside of that, they could do anything they wanted to do. In other words, everything they did was perfect. They couldn't do evil. They couldn't do anything to go against their Creator if they didn't violate that one rule that we're going to see that God gives. Now, the thing I'm doing here, I want us to be very careful. This is a very well-written narrative because, now, the thing I just spoke of, that is the transgression, it's not spoken of in Genesis chapter 1. And, so-called higher criticism, they say that this was, this was written by a separate author because we find the name Lord God in chapter 2, whereas we just had the name Elohim or God in chapter 1. But see, there are things in chapter 2 that we don't get in chapter 1. We see that man was created, but we don't know how he was created. We find that out in chapter 2. And we find out how woman was created. It was a very unique way. And I just want us to understand there's a distinction. We need chapter 2. It is not a repeat of chapter 1. Very important information is given in chapter 2 that's not given in chapter 1. But we need chapter 1 to properly understand chapter 2. So I hope that's clear, but we'll talk more about that when we come to it. But this thing here of man being created in mankind, all men, all women are created in God's image, without exception. If you're if you're a human being, you are created in God's image, not animals. Animals were not created in God's image, and they were created for man to rule over. And by the way, we eat animals. A lot of the people who have animals for pets in a lot of countries, and you can look this up, they eat animals, even dogs. Now, I don't know if they eat cats, but I know they eat dogs in a lot of countries. Scandinavian and in Asian countries. They actually raise dogs. They farm dogs to eat them. So, at any rate, we see that man here was designed to rule over
Mr. Solution. Mr. Solution, we have a caller on the air with us. His name is Paul Dembski. Welcome to the call, Paul.
Mr. Solution, we have a caller. Paul Dembski. Welcome to
Paul, are you there?
Hi, I'm happy to be on, Debbie.
Hang on, everybody. Did you fix your echo? Oh, hi, Paul. Hi, welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, thank you. I don't know much about the Bible. First of all, how is my audio?
You sound great.
Okay. I would be lying to say I was any kind of Bible scholar or know much about the Bible. I typed in the chat room that I was, my parents were Jewish. So up until the time I lived with them, while I lived under their roof, I had to live under their rules, and they were Jewish. So I had a bar mitzvah and all that stuff. And you were just reading. Well, actually, you were just about a half hour ago. You were playing an audio Bible, and you started right from Genesis, right from the beginning of the Bible. So I went and grabbed what I would call my Bible, which is just called the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and they're basically the exact same thing. So I guess my question is, where does Judaism? I know that where does Judaism split off from Christianity? Where does Judaism?
I love that question.
Well, I can't answer it, so I guess it's time for Mr. Solution. By the way, hi, Mr. Solution. Is it Solution or Solutions?
It's singular. Yeah, just Solution.
This guy is Mr. Solution. This guy is so cool. He's very popular. Everybody loves this man. He's a big shot, and I'm so glad he called in. I just got my second win now. Cool.
Well,
I'm so glad.
I wouldn't have called in. I wouldn't have called in if I would not have called in if I didn't have anything to say. And when I heard you talking about the Bible, I was like, oh, well, I'll listen because Debbie is my new favorite. But then as I said, when I heard Genesis, it's the same exact thing. And I have a show on TalkShoe, and I spend a lot of time on TalkShoe, and quite a few of the religious programs on TalkShoe are like these Christian identity preachers who claim that the Jews were from the serpent seed and, Cain and Abel. Eve had sex with the snake, and that's the Jewish line. And when she had sex with Cain, that's the true, Christian line. So that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. But as I said, my question is, where do the two split off other than the fact that, the Jews killed, the Romans killed Jesus, but the Jews had it done?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me just apologize for not focusing on that specifically. But I do know that there was what you call the proselytes. And we see this actually in the New Testament. We see where there's this false contention. I think there was the issue of eating certain foods, and of course that was dealt with, in the book of Acts. And there was even the issue of circumcision. But the thing is, with
I'm sorry, Mr. Solution, and you gave me your time. You gave me my time, but you mentioned the thing with animals, and since I don't know the Bible, is this the stuff where, you should eat nothing with the cloven hooves, and you should eat nothing that dwells on the bottom of the ocean, kind of thing, like the kosher?
Exactly.
Okay, and
right.
as Debbie might know, I raise
laws, and they're very well explained. I mean, with respect to fish or seafood, as it were, it had to have fins and scales, and there were very specific reasons for that. But my point is this: is that changed when Jesus came about, and there was a big fight between Paul and Peter. And Paul corrected Peter because Peter was being a hypocrite. He was being two-faced. He was supporting the Jews, and he was causing division in the body, as it were, because the whole point is that the church was connected based on the death and resurrection of Christ. And of course, Peter was playing this. He was playing favorites, is what he was doing. And Peter and Paul corrected him on this. But let me just, and this happened in the first century, but it doesn't make any sense because if you read the scriptures, Judaism is the foundation for Christianity. Christ said, "I've not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it." And Jesus was considered the fulfillment of the law. Now, there's a sect of Jews called Jews for Jesus, I believe, but
yes,
the nation itself has not accepted Christ as the Messiah. And obviously we could get into some of that, but, people have preferences. But being that Judaism is the foundation for Christianity, there should not be the division. Because the same book that the Christians use, it's the same book, the Old Testament. It was divided into three divisions. The law,
that's why I called, because as I followed along with that audio Bible, I went and grabbed it. I don't keep it by my bed or anything like that, but I went and grabbed it. And aside from some of the wording, I guess it's the exact same thing. So okay.
Well, like
I guess you have basically answered my question.
The Old Testament was divided into the law, the Psalm, and the prophets. Those were the three divisions. And that's the same Bible of the Christians. It's the same. There's no difference. The Torah, we're reading out of the Torah right now. This is the Torah.
Right. This book even says the 5 books of Moses.
Right.
And the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. I have to say, I don't practice this, but I have this book around. I raise a pig, so if this is the real religion, they have a special place in hell for me.
Well, your mother's going to love this. You just tell your mother that you spent Sunday night learning in Bible study on Genesis, and she'll love you.
Well, she's gone.
Or your father.
That's fine. She lived a good life.
A special place, and you sound like a sweet man. You don't sound oppositional or antagonistic or acrimonious. Why would you designate yourself to hell?
Well, the reason I said that, what I said was, if you have Jehovah's Witnesses.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that? Can I answer that? Mr. Solution, he has a pet pig, and he knows that in the Jew community, that they're not allowed to eat pork, that it's considered unkosher, unclean, very, very bad, and he has a pet pig. He was joking halfway. But
and aside from that, I do eat pork, and I do love lobster, and what I was saying, Mr. Solution, is that I know that Debbie is a Christian, I believe. I don't know what set, if she's a Catholic. It doesn't matter. Debbie is Christian. Apparently you're Christian. I know Jehovah's Witnesses. I know Seventh-day Adventists. I know these nuts from Talk Show. I shouldn't say that, but they're nuts. Radical...
They're nuts.
Okay, thanks. Those nuts from Talk Show that are Christian identity, that think they're the only ones going, to heaven. So what I was saying was, if everyone, all these people believe in a different type of religion, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witnesses, Jews for Jesus, Christian identity, and Judaism. And all I was saying is that if Judaism is the real religion, like I die and I find out, Paul, Judaism was the real religion. You didn't follow it since you left your parents' home. You raised a pet pig. You ate lobster. You ate shrimp. And you're destined for hell. It was kind of a joke, but in a way, I was just trying to get a point across that...
What if I were to tell you that just by the fact that you question it, you will not go to hell? I can promise you, every cell of my body, that you will be in heaven. That I promise you.
Well, thank you.
No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead
Well, that's
serious.
why my voice is so soft, because that's wonderful.
You will be there. And my grandmother taught that there were different levels, sort of like, this is going to sound kind of silly, but I've always been a stay-at-home mom. I taught homeschool. I'm used to putting things in very elementary terms. Not that you need that, but just the way I work. It's sort of like heaven has been taught all my life to be sort of like a city. You're going to have the ghetto. You're going to have the mansions. You're going to have this, that, and the other. And I believe that that's what they said when they said you will be called among the highest in the kingdom of heaven. So yes, I do know that, anybody that even questions something that our Creator did proves to me you believe in the Creator. And therefore, that right there, and you're obviously not an evil man. You'd be in prison right now if you were an evil man. It's very, that's one thing I've learned how to answer when people say to me, will I go to heaven? And it's just very simple. When you listen to them talk for 5 or 10 minutes, you can tell whether or not they will. You know what I mean?
Well, I definitely appreciate that, quick
don't you touch that pet, don't you touch that pet pig. I love that little guy. He's adorable.
That guy is, don't worry. Have you seen my YouTube page?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll keep adding pictures of him. He's never going to become dinner, and I will add to it. But I just wanted to ask that question as to when things split off, and I guess the answer we've all determined is when Jesus was crucified. Are we correct?
Yeah, it appeared to be after the 1st century that this happened. But what I'll do, it's easy to find out when the split occurred.
This is so, I wish so bad that we were on that part, because I'm so that's where I am right on. I could answer almost any question. Like after the crucifixion of Christ under Pilate, whenever Herod decided I don't want to do this. And actually Pilate didn't want to do it either. Pilate said, I have no reason to crucify this man. Jesus Christ was a Jew. Exactly.
And although he's turned into a jerk, Mel Gibson's depiction of Christ in The Passion of the Christ seems true to
absolutely
what I know the Bible to be. At first, Pontius Pilate had no reason to kill this man, and after
you know who it was. You know who it was. It was the high priest. It was
right.
It was the high priest in the temple that actually did it. And the reason that he did it was because not that he was so scared of Jesus's power, he was afraid that the Romans were going to see that there was such a hullabaloo going on that they were going to shut down the temple again. And actually, Herod sent Cornelius over there to say, hey, look, you either get a hold of this shit or we're going to get a hold of it for you. And they were so afraid of losing the temple because they had waited so long and had lost the temple before, that the temple was everything to the Jews, and especially the priest, the high priest. And Caiaphas was the one who ordered the death of Jesus Christ and who saw it through. And I've always wondered what Jews think about that. I mean, do they talk about that? Do they realize that actually it was Caiaphas, the high priest of the Jews that day, that did it? And this is history. This isn't belief or faith. This is actual history in the history books, that Caiaphas ordered the death of Jesus Christ.
Well, I certainly am not the person to answer that, because, as I said, after I left my parents' house, I discovered myself, and I thought, there are certain aspects of this religion that I don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
So I kind of put this book I'm holding on the shelf.
You really don't have to belong to a religion, Paul. What you have to have is your own personal situation with this thing, your own personal set of beliefs. Don't call yourself a Jew. Don't call yourself anything. Just call yourself Paul, and I believe blank. And it's just a personal relationship that you have with if you want to say with God, with Spirit, with the Creator, with whatever you believe. That's your own personal situation. I mean, I don't go to church. I don't ascribe to be anything in particular. I frankly think that religion was brought about for economic value, for the fact that when you join our church, you give us $35 a week and you're cleansed or whatever. I have my different beliefs on it, but after the death of Jesus Christ, there are 12 disciples that had hung out with him, more or less like his gang, okay? And they felt it necessary to go forward throughout the land of India and Pakistan, all those places over there, and spread the word that Jesus Christ had arisen in the afterlife and ascended into heaven. Because the Jews thought that when you died, that was it. There was no afterlife.
Right, and to be taught, I believe they still believe that, because that is, a fear of mine, it just you go to black, you die and you just
No. And wait till you see who's coming on here next Sunday night. It's going to blow your minds who's going to be on here next Sunday night. I'm going to let it be a surprise, but I can tell you it is going to blow your minds when I show you who's going to be here.
I will, if you're not telling, then I don't mind the surprise, because I'll be here Sunday. I don't want this to come out funny, but you're my new obsession.
Aww.
Not a stalker way, of course.
Of course not.
In a internet radio way. If I see you're live, I'm coming on.
I don't believe that there's a way to believe in the Bible unless you mix in some sort of science, and the science of the afterlife, and the belief and the now highly technological proof of the afterlife that we have. And that's what I'm going to just give you a little hint that it's going to be. So there you go. We're going to have somebody that's going to blow your mind.
That sounds good, actually.
Oh, yeah. He's huge. And so...
Yeah, my advice to Paul would be to read the book of John and read the Gospel of John.
Well, okay,
And,
so
of course,
that's not going to be in this book I'm looking at right now. I'd have to go to my wife's Bible.
That's right. Or you can go to BibleGateway.com and listen to it. If you go to BibleGateway.com and simply type in John, it'll read it to you out loud.
I'm going to write that down. Is that where you're playing Book of Genesis from?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And are you going to play some more Book of Genesis tonight?
Yeah, as soon as Mr. Solution stops talking. No, I'm joking. I think we're just going to cover Genesis 1 tonight, sir.
Yeah, we're going to finish Genesis 1. I'm pretty, because it's very short, and we're almost at the end of it now. But what I would encourage you to do is to, like I say, read the Gospel of John. And read
okay, so that would be the Book of John?
The Book of John, John 1. It sounds,
John,
it goes a little something like this.
To be the Messiah. That's who he claimed to be.
Right.
And his credentials, I believe, are supported. And so the other thing is that I would say read the book of Acts, because it's the transition of the church. And at one point, the Jews, or they call them proselytes, and the Jews, they were in the same body. Now, Debbie, I do think that if we can find a local church where there is agreement, I know it's hard. The Bible definitely, if you read the pastoral epistles like Timothy, 1st and 2nd Timothy, they do encourage Christians to meet together and to exhort and encourage each other. And that's really important. Now, we are doing that to an extent here, but obviously the personal touch is important too when possible, when possible. So I definitely recommend that. But, Paul, I would definitely recommend to read the Gospel of John. And
or listen, as Debbie said, correct? Or listen.
Right.
Yeah, or listen, because, I think to listen to it on tape, Bible Gateway, and then just click on that little voice there, the sound sign.
I put it in our chat room on Skype. Anyway, I put it in our chat room on Skype.
Yeah, that would be better, because I actually have some books I'm into now that have absolutely nothing to do with the Bible or religion, just non-fiction books about... I'm into history and things like that, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. So I'm writing all this stuff down, and I'll hit BibleGateway.com.
I put the link in our chat room on Skype, Mr. Dembski, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah. Over there on Skippy.
Like...
And we have somebody that wants to call in. Her name is GamerGirl101, and she said, how do I call in? I want to call in. And I was like, oh, gosh, I hope she can call in. I hope she sees the chat on Spreaker. There's people over there in the chat room. But, yeah, I dropped that.
Right. I'm sorry.
Did you get the link?
I told her that you're on Skype, but I really don't have any. I didn't, I wasn't going to send your link from my Skype page, so I don't know. That's the way I was able to reach you. But I see that there's another way that you put up in the chat box along with my link to Bible Gateway.
Another thing I would suggest you reading, which is amazing, is the book of Corinthians. It's the story of Saul from Tarsus, that was a horrible man that on the road to Damascus, he looks up and he sees an eclipse, a solar eclipse, and he gets blinded. And it's interesting to listen to read. That seems kind of like the thing in the Jewish Bible, and I don't know what book or what page, or if it even is in the Torah. But the story of Lot when they destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and his wife is told not to look back. And his wife looks back and gets turned into a pillar of salt. And did you know that they have actually found right outside the ancient city of Sodom and Gomorrah the pillar of salt? I actually have heard that, yes.
And not, 20 years ago.
No.
More recently than that.
Absolutely. I'll give you the link also to the book of Corinthians, just because I know men sometimes like things just handed to them. There you go. It's in the chat room.
Now, let me ask you a question. My wife is a Catholic. She does, I heard you say you don't go to church, but you know your Bible, so you must have gone to church at some point, Debbie, or just read a lot of Bible to know this stuff. And I don't know which one it is, and you don't have to tell me. But with my wife being Catholic...
Well, just tell your wife, this will answer your question. Tell your wife I said, peace be with you.
Okay.
And she'll know what I am. That'll tell her. She'll say, oh, she's Catholic, Paul. No, I'm joking. She's going to get mad as me say it like that.
She doesn't have the New York accent. Anyway, she's from Maine. But if I read these books out of... the Bible that Roman Catholics read that she has on her nightstand, she's certainly much more religious than I am, and I don't ever we've been together so long, she's Catholic, I'm kind of agnostic or atheist, if you want to say, at this point of my life. But if I read these out of the Roman Catholic Bible, is the text the same as, say, the American Standard or these other Bibles? So the text is different.
No, it's the same.
Yeah,
we're live on Spreaker right now, everybody. The link to Spreaker is Spreaker. Yeah, there it is. Monkey Shoes put it in there. Go over there and you can hear us live. We're in archive, but we're live on Spreaker. And Jerry, call in. Jerry wants to call in. Please. Debbie McCugs.
Let me just say this. Now, the answer to your question, Paul, is yes. But now the Catholics do have additional books. I believe they're called the Apocrypha, books of dubious origin. They have those, like the Gospel of Judas and stuff like that. But those books were never entered into the canon. But, the books that we gave you are the same. That is the Gospel of John, and I think, Debbie, you said Corinthians.
Corinthians and
the
Acts.
History of the Church and Acts.
That's what I have written down. I have Acts written down. John 1.
Yeah, and that was written by an excellent historian, Dr. Luke. Dr. Luke, of course, wrote the book of Luke, and he also wrote the Acts. And he was a disciple of Paul the Apostle, which Debbie mentioned just a moment ago.
Okay. Well, I don't want to, I know, I talked to Debbie for quite a while last night, and I know she probably doesn't want to go as late as we did last night. So I guess I'll let you go ahead with your Bible study and get back to your BibleGateway.com. I just, as I said, it initially was I'm looking. It initially was a call to say I'm looking at this Jewish Torah, and Genesis is the same, and just asking where it's split off, and I guess. Like you said, in the 1st century, which would be sometime after the death of Jesus Christ, and now I just need to find out in the New Testament what some of this stuff is about, and you gave me 3 books that are in the New Testament that I'll take a look at in my wife's Bible.
Yeah, and one other thing, you may want to just check this. This is considered the premier commentary in Christian seminaries, and it is the Matthew Henry, and just see what he has to say, because he has like a verse-by-verse commentary, and particularly when you get to the fight between Paul and Peter, you will see where the Jewish tradition, Peter is supporting that, and he's retreating from what he knows is the truth, and that's where Paul confronts him. And I know it didn't happen exactly then, but it happened later on. So probably sometime in the 1st century. And then you may just, now I use Start Page. You can Google it. They say Google tracks your ID. but you could just probably ask the search engine when did the split occur. I'll check it out, and I'm pretty sure there's an actual date that we can locate, but or certainly within a couple of years we can find out when that happened. But it's a very good question. I think you've asked some premier questions.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I've heard you, many times, or every time. No, not every time. That would not be true. But many times since I started listening to Debbie, and you're a very educated, well-spoken man, and I like listening to you. So as I said, I don't want to hold it up too much because there's nothing I can really add to the conversation.
You're
because
not. You're not. See, that's what you don't understand. You're not holding us up. This is what we love. Fine. We love when people call in and say, "Hey, this, that, just some off the wall question," because that's
okay. Well, maybe that's why the night. This is not Bible related. Is it solution or solutions?
Solution.
Just solution. Just
okay.
Solution.
Mr. Solution, Debbie got a little upset with me because apparently I was supposed to come on the show one night, and I was a little intimidated because when I've heard the show, it seemed like a free-for-all. People were using the N-word, and someone called white people the devil, and Debbie got offended by that, which she should have, and I didn't know the format of the show yet because even though I had heard of Debbie, I had never tuned in until 3-4 a month. Let's say a month, or since she started on Spreaker. So how long have you been on Spreaker, Debbie?
I'm having a fight in the chat room with Stabby McHugg. Stop thinking. Let me yell at somebody. Stabby, stop thinking that you're right about every goddamn thing that you mention. And yes, I am, just like General Patton. When they said, "Do you read the Bible?" he said, "Every goddamn night." I don't give a crap. I know where I'm going. I don't have to watch my step and pick and choose the way I talk. I know where I'm going. And Stabby, you're not right about everything you say. Now shut the fuck up. There we go. I'm sorry.
And see, and even though I love the calm Debbie, that's great.
Well, I mean, there's this guy in my chat.
Debbie is really, really good, and
there's this guy in my
real attraction to the show.
Well, but there's this guy in my Blog Talk Radio chat room that thinks he is right about every freaking thing that he says, and he's not. Stabby, you can be wrong, buddy, okay? Yeah, I can yell real freaking loud, Stabby. You don't say a damn word because you just hide out in chat rooms, so shut up. I'm sorry.
See, that might be part of the reason that I didn't start listening to you sooner, is that the whole Blog Talk Radio, I don't find Blog Talk Radio user-friendly at all. I know it's very popular. I know a lot of people use it, but for me, TalkShoe is obviously, a monkey could set up a show on TalkShoe. But I really like Spreaker is very user-friendly, and of course, the sound is incredible. And your setup is incredible anyway. So, I guess I really started listening to you on Spreaker simply because I just don't like Blog Talk Radio, and the trolling that you have received has come from Blog Talk Radio. The trolls are hanging out there. So I'm not sure where I'm going with. Oh, I was supposed to come on last week, and you got a little upset, and that was because I didn't know what was happening that night. Like, was I, if someone who did know from TalkShoe.
No. You came in on a bad night when the Skype assholes were on there, okay? Stabby, I understand when you challenge something you think is true. Stabby, here's the bottom line. You think, Stabby, that you are right about everything that you say about the Bible, okay? You consider yourself a freaking expert on it. I don't. I'm simply offering something. You sit there and call me names in the chat room, okay? I'm sorry. And that's just the way I feel about it. No, you came on the night, Paul, when there was the damn Skype assholes, which are garbage, were on there, and they brought along. So you really called in on a bad night. It's normally not like that. that. So,
okay, so it's
seriously.
not okay.
Oh no,
so
no, no.
so that kind of intimidated me, and then I didn't know who else was going to be on that night, so I didn't call in. But I'm making up for it now by asking what I guess was called a pretty good question. So
I want to play something for you now that you're on here. If I can find it, you know what it is. If I can find, I don't know what I did with it. It's somewhere on here. I never know.
And I'm sorry for playing that prank call that turned overly vulgar last night.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
I just played that because the person who made the call, the male, was from my town. Like, I live in such a small town that we're proud to have a celebrity like that who goes on Howard Stern. So that's why I played that. But you're right. It did go too far, and I should have thought about that before I played it. So anyway, I apologize.
It was horrible.
Okay. I thought about it all day, so at least I got to apologize to you.
Aw, that's very sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I can find this, I'll play it. I have so many things on my board on Blog Talk Radio. I don't even know what it's called. It's called.
That's okay because you'll have many opportunities, I think, to play it for me.
How sweet. I don't know where it's at. It could be under anything. I've got to sit down one day or hire somebody to go through and get this stuff in some kind of order. It's just a mess. Oh, here it is. Listen. I'll play a little bit.
And I was using that as a way of giving you a gauge.
All right. I'm going to bring on the line right now a very prominent fellow.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Well, Bob, you knew it was going to happen. She also hosts her own radio show on public radio. Debbie Daly, she does Daly's Daily Radio Show and is on the line with us from New York here this evening. And just turn that down if you wouldn't mind, bud. On the line with us tonight from New York. How are you, Debbie?
Shut up, Paul. Stop laughing.
I gotta mute my microphone. This character was so good, and
horrible.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna be quiet.
You're terrible. I hate you. He's laughing at it. No, that's all I'll play, unless you want me to play it.
It is like a 20-minute thing.
No, I have 4 minutes and 39 seconds, so.
Oh, okay. So it's not as long as I thought, but that's fine. And I'm not laughing at you, but
I know.
I thought the whole concept of the fact that Phil was able to understand her, but, is it Bob Green? Obviously he couldn't understand her, and he's asking Phil, "You're telling me you actually understand
this woman?" He goes, "Well, yeah, she's actually gone very far for public radio. Public radio hires people that are." He is so insulting. And the next day, I went to Twitter and I said, "What the f?" He would just send back LOL on Twitter. I was like,
right, and just the fact that more. We've discussed it, but more people should know Phil Hendry, and he's a undervalued commodity. And the fact that's I guess how I got here. Well, not how I got here, but when you first played it, when I was listening, it all clicked. It was a parody of you. It had nothing to do with anyone on public radio.
Jewish producer was the one that brought that to me. He said, Debbie, you won't believe this. And several people in the chat room, they came to me when it was actually live that night. And they were like, Debbie, oh my God. So
yeah, I heard it. I heard that bit live that night, so it stayed with me. So I thought it was funny. I'm not laughing at you, but I thought that bit was funny. Like I said, because Phil could understand Debbie Daly, but obviously the guest could not.
Well, from what I understand, when I was talking to one of the people that works with him on Skype one night, we talked until 4 o'clock in the morning, her and I. She said that Phil had gotten word that I was doing things that were similar to him with my Fufu Latouche and Carol from Blog Talk Radio, and he dropped over here and listened to a couple of episodes. And then that was when he got the idea to go back and do a spin-off and do a, what did you call it? A
parody.
A parody of me. And the shows that he listened to, I had really bad audio. And you couldn't understand me many times because there were so many people on the call. There was so much background noise, you couldn't understand me. And that's really sort of what he was making fun of, is what he told me on Twitter.
Oh, okay. I'm almost positive there's more than one, that you've made more than one appearance.
Nobody else has ever heard it ever again or ever before.
You know what?
I'll ask him.
I'm a Philaholic or whatever, and I'm going to make it my mission to try and find out if there were other bits, because I think you started off as Olivia Daly because there was a woman he did called Olivia Daly who spoke exactly the same way, and it had to be based on you because the Daly name. Why? I think Olivia Daly evolved into Phil just saying, "Hell, I'll use her real name." Now that I've known her. If you do Twitter with Phil, ask him if there was only, if you've ever talked about it, ask him if there was more than one Debbie Daly bit.
Oh, I will.
Because I listen to the man religiously, and I'm almost positive I've heard more than once.
I've thought about putting our private messages that we send, our direct messages on Twitter, but I just don't think that Phil Henry would appreciate that. Now, our open Twitters are in the open. Our open tweets are in the open that we tweet back and forth to each other. But the private messages I've sent him, he's been a little bit more descriptive. I guess I could probably read them over the air some night, but I still don't know if he would consider that being very,
Yeah, just find out, because, like I said, I'm a Philaholic, and I'm almost positive that he did you earlier than that. And it was Olivia Daly who morphed into Debbie Daly. So
I've tried to call in a couple of times from this show to his show, and I just get put on hold, because I don't know if he's taking calls. Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. And I've had people listening. Yeah, if you ever hear him taking calls, let me know as quick as you can on the air, and I'll call in.
I will. I guess he is. I think when I first spoke to you, he wasn't on the air. He had switched syndicators or something like that, and he's back on the air now. And if you just hold on a second, I don't know if he has an affiliate in... I'm going to lose you. Well, no, I'm not going to lose you, but let's see, affiliates. Affiliate.
You still with us, Mr. Solution?
I'm sorry for taking all his time.
No, it's fine. It's not really his thing. It's our thing, and we're fine. We love people.
Okay, his syndicator does not have any stations in Texas yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I can pick him up on the internet, though. And Mr. Solution loves Blow Me Up Tom. He loves Tom Likas. Do you like Tom Likas, Paul?
I despise Tom Likas.
Really? I love Tom Likas. Tom Likas loves me, too. I called into his show one night, Mr. Solution, and he said, when he got off the line with me, he said, "How lucky am I to have gotten a call like that from a woman like that?" And I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe he said that.
That's good, because he usually downs women.
No, he loved me, because I was right on point with what I said. I called in and I said... Do what?
What was the subject?
I don't remember. That's just it. Victor and I have tried to remember, and we don't remember what it was, but I called in. Oh, I know what it was, Mr. Solution. He was talking about women who hide their kids from things that are bullshit, and I said, well, do you think that... I said, Tom, I let my kids go down to houses where the people smoke, and that doesn't mean that they're going to start smoking. I said, it was about that. It was about, I could probably find it if I really, really researched it, but it was about that. And I said, just because I let my children go down to a home where they drink does not mean that they're going to drink, Tom. I said, my children have got their belief system emblazed in them by me, and I feel comfortable letting them go around anything. So that's what it was about. Somebody's calling in, but I can't.
And going back to Phil, you really are very Bobby Dooley.
Oh, I know. Shut
you really
up.
are. I heard something on a while ago, and it was like, it started off, because I saw my name, and it was like, I'm not about this, I'm about Mercedes, and so-and-so, and so-and-so, and I'm thinking, this really is Bobby Daly. I mean, Bobby Dooley.
Well, notice how it's Bobby Dooley, Debbie Daly. The husband's in the background.
Right, exactly.
She's the president of her home.
And Debbie, Bobby, you're much nicer than... you're much nicer, but other than that, the whole setup, your life... you're talking about Mercedes, and I turned it off. I only heard a few seconds because I wanted to get on the show. But I'm like,
I said Mercedes and
real life Debbie Daly.
Mercedes and country clubs. Mercedes and country clubs is what I said.
That's
true.
it.
Shut
That's
up.
right. That's right. And I thought, yep, that's a real life Bobby Dooley. Do you live in a someplace with a homeowners association?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Shut up. It's a gated
homeowners association president, are you?
It's a gated community. Actually, I was on the crime watch. I was the head of the crime watch for a while, but I got out of that.
So you reported to someone. You can't have anyone like flying an American flag that's a half inch too big or something like that.
No. And it's so funny that Steve is in the background and he does landscaping, and Victor's always in the background here saying something. Did you hear Victor walk in just a second ago and say something? I love it.
I did not know, but the comparison,
shut up. Everybody says that.
The parallel is so close that it's funny. And the one thing I want to say about Tom Leykis is I shouldn't say I despise him, but because I like Phil Hendry, and I don't know if they have a real or an imaginary feud, Phil Hendry has done Tom Leykis, and he does him,
excellent.
Very funny,
yes,
but puts him down.
Yes, he does. And Tom Leykis has been married and divorced how many times? 5 or 6 times.
And I've had pictures of myself younger when I had a bit more hair and a bit more weight. And people have said, well, you look like Tom Leykis. So he reminds me of my heavier self, so I also don't like Tom Leykis.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, and stay on the line with us if you want.
Okay, so don't disconnect from Skype. Just kind of hang out and
isn't he adorable? Don't you love him?
Bible and,
don't you love him, Mr. Solution? I just love this guy. He's great. I love him. He's got an innocence about him or something. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it.
I think it's a night. It's even doing the show on Talk Show is kind of new to me. Like, News Guy kind of gave me the push to, go ahead and do it. You can do it. From your calls, my calls to him, he gave me the kick in the butt, let's say, to do my own show. And my wife has always told me, why didn't you go to broadcasting school? Why didn't you major in journalism? You could, I don't have a radio voice yet, but if I had gone and majored in journalism, I could have worked on, my radio voice. And so I'm beginning my major in journalism by jumping right in. So that's my innocence, I guess. So you're right. Now, where did you get your radio voice?
I guess I was just born with it. I got it from my uncle. I did a show this afternoon spotlighting my uncle. And if you listen to the first 20 minutes of it, you'll hear exactly where I get my radio from. He tells the whole story.
I'll listen to it. All these shows are downloadable as podcasts. Is that right? As
exactly.
MP3 podcasts?
Exactly.
Okay. So, because I do have some listening of stuff to do, but I will definitely put the stuff I've missed on the old iPod and listen to it.
Okay,
so
somebody
I'll just sit back now.
Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
Somebody is calling me on Skype. I did need to tell you that if you call me on Skype, the only way that I can add you to the current show is if you are a contact. So send a contact request, and we can put you on just boom, that quick. Right, Paul? Remember when you did?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what I said contact. Mm-hmm. You added me. And
I'll add you. I don't care who you
are.
I'll add you just like that. Boom. And then turn around and put you on the call. So do that. But I was going to say, Stabby, this is where so many people destroy relationships. They think that just because I am arguing with you, that now we're at war. I can argue with my son. I mean, I got into a screaming argument with Stephen yesterday. I mean, we went toe-to-toe. I turned my cap on that son of mine. And I still love him, and he still loves me. Just because I argue with you does not mean I don't love you anymore, and you're going to go run over and tell people I'm a bitch and all that kind of stuff. I'm not. I'm simply arguing with you, okay? What's a talking snake? You are? Monkey Shoes is? I'm sorry. So,
and
yeah.
So that's how the trolling starts.
Exactly. And I just want to, Stabby goes, war, good God, y'all, what is it good for? So, but seriously, I'm having a major argument with Stabby McHugs, and he's like one of my brothers in the world, and Monkey Shoes just says absolutely nothing. And I'm trying to, you know what he's doing. But I'm just fussing with Stabby tonight, and that's all it is. I still love him, and that's just wanted to put that in there.
And I'm missing everything, so, because come over to Spreaker, folks.
Here comes Alpha Dog. Alpha Dog's on the call with us.
Yeah, it's so much more user-friendly, but I guess you guys are used to going over to Blog Talk Radio for years to chat with Debbie.
Oh,
but I'm on the Spreaker side here.
Hey, badass, what are you doing? Hey, badass. Alpha Dog, we hear your jet engine flying over. Are you in your jet engine right now? Are you in your jet?
No, I'm in the vehicle. I just wanted to call in, and can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you great. What's up?
Okay, great show, by the way. Mr. Solution, phenomenal job of breaking that down. I think that you guys should make some CDs out of it and take it to some, Sunday schools or something, I mean, it's to where, it can be understood.
Oh, he's great. He's
very
great.
Well. Awesome.
Wow. He's great, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Really great job. It's a pleasure to listen to it.
I hear your blinker. You're turning left.
Yes, ma'am.
I knew it. It's your left blinker. I can do that on the radio. I can hear your left blinker. Something I was going to say, we'll be doing this every Sunday night for the next however many weeks, Mr. Salush. I don't know, maybe 9 weeks or something. We'll be on every Sunday night. So if you want to get your week's worth of goodness, come on Sunday nights. We'll be doing it again. But
yeah, I'll definitely tune in. I just I heard the beginning, and it's just I really enjoyed it. I'm a Christian, Protestant, I guess, but I'm not one of those Christian identity freaks that
Thank God.
Are pretty much like white supremacists, if you ask me.
Are you like General Patton when you read the Bible every goddamn night?
I know I'm not supposed to jump in here, but Christian identity is just a cover for hate for Aryan nations and white supremacy, and they use that Christian identity as a cover, and I can say that confidently because over on TalkShoe, there are so many Christian identity shows, and they're all tied into white nationalism, Klansmen, and just hate. So you're 100% right, Carl.
Yeah, I've heard them before. And they kind of bend the Bible to fit their needs and what's good for them. So I just I'm learning. That's bottom line. I don't know it all by no means, and I'm just a regular guy that's looking for answers too, and I just think it's a good way how you guys are breaking it down.
Wait till we get to
absolutely.
Wait till we get to the part. Shut up, Paul. Wait till we get.
Okay,
Wait, no, I'm joking. Wait till we get to the
I'm
Paul.
not leaving. I'm just hiding the microphone.
No. I just wanted to say, wait till we get to the part about Adam and Eve. The part about Adam and Eve. You're going to learn stuff. You're going to go, no shit. I didn't even know. It's fascinating that what I've learned in my research that we're going to be bringing. I just kind of hope we hurry up and get through this part and we get to the part about Noah and all that good stuff because I have so many neat things to talk about. So anyway.
Awesome. Well, I'm not going to keep you. I got to get off here and go in this gas station and get gas and whatnot. But you guys take it easy.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Night. Thanks for calling in. Thanks, Alpha Dog. Any badass?
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye. Have a good night. Be careful.
Hey, thank you.
All right, great. That was Alpha Dog from Spreaker. Did you see his picture, Paul, on the Skype thingy?
Yes, yeah. I was watching. I didn't notice it at first because it was just you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. I saw Alpha Dog's
Your
picture
little pig
up there.
is so cute. I just love. Does he oink? Does he go like that? Does he snort?
Only when he wants to try and beg us for food.
Oh,
he knows how to play us.
I wish I could see his picture. So, what do you think, Salush? Should we try anything else, or what should we do? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I was hoping, I understand we take these little sidebars, but I was hoping you would redirect us. Now, we're on 26 here, so do you want to finish the rest of this, or do you want to finish? We can finish it next time. There's no problem. I'm in no rush.
Okay, I'm not in a rush either. We're on 26 what, sir? Genesis what? 26?
Yeah, 126. And I would say this lays the foundation for all that happens. I know you mentioned Noah and everything, but this lays the foundation for all that happens. And I think it may have been Paul or Alpha Dog. The supremacists, and this is regardless of who it is, they have a misconstrued, and I'm going to say a false sense of who God is, if they believe that God promotes supremacy. There's one order. Man is to rule over the earth, but not each other. That's made very clear. Man is supposed to rule over the fish, over the cattle. They're supposed to rule over the other things. God rules over man. So man is accountable to God, and that's why our Constitution talks about inalienable rights. So you can't be a supremacist and believe in God. Now you can believe in a false God, which is an idol, which really is yourself. But you can't believe in the real God and believe that you are superior to other men. Because how is the image of God in you who believe that you're superior? How is that image of God superior in you? God doesn't stand for that. And I don't think anyone who reads the actual Word of God would accept that nonsense. And that's what it says. So God created man in his own image, in the image of God. He created them, male and female. He created them.
Right.
So they're created in the image of God to rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, over the livestock, and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. Now, that didn't say anything about ruling over other men.
I wanted to invite Stabby McHugs in either, not next week, but the week after that. I'd like to spotlight on what he's been talking about, which is, and Victor is real big on this too, that there are different groups or whatever, there are different myths or whatever that have to do with the Bible that like have the sun, meaning the sun, and I don't know how to put it. It's hard to put into words, but there's a lot of different, not ethnic groups, but not racist, but there's different groups of people, I guess, in history that have formed their own, what am I trying to say here? They have formed their own something about the Bible, and they can almost prove, okay, like they have a guy that came and was born and died and was resurrected in the third day and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? No? Shut up, Debbie.
I have no idea.
Okay, you're talking about form their own doctrine? What are you talking about?
Exactly. And I can, if I had time, I could look it up and show you. I think that's what Stabby's been talking about tonight, and I would love to spotlight that one night on our Sunday nights here. I think it's interesting. There's different. I don't want to say religions, but there's different. I don't know what you'd call it. Just different thought processes where there's. They have a man that was born from a virgin that. Was like a prophet of sorts. They called him something, and there's many different Vic, if you can hear me, come help me. I always have trouble with words. Steve. No, I'm joking.
No, you don't have trouble with words. Believe me, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing if you had trouble with words.
Oh, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But I know what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to put it into words. But there's different theologies or something. I don't know how to put it into words that have the same characters, but they have different names, perhaps. But like I said, and Stabby was talking about some of that tonight, I would like to get into some of that too. It's really interesting. It's an interesting idea.
Are you saying maybe interpretations, or I don't think you are?
No, not necessarily interpretations. Different. It's beliefs. Gosh, I wish I could put it into words, but I just can't. I know Victor knows.
Well, then, yeah, get Victor on this.
Paul, I love you. He is so simple-minded. I love that with you. You're just such an easy person to be around and talk to. You know what I mean? Does everybody tell you that?
Yeah, I don't have enemies, let's just say.
I can believe it. You're just a very easy person to be around and talk to. I love that.
One thing I got to say is being out here raising a pig and being out in the country, and I'm out in the country of northern Vermont. I grew up in Brooklyn. It's a huge change. I'm a little isolated. I miss people, so something like this actually is like therapeutic to me, because I don't get enough. We have people in town, of course, but it's just it's therapeutic for me to get on the Spreaker or the Talk Shoe and just talk to people, because there's not enough. What am I going to talk to the pig?
Well, there are.
Well, you know what?
There's
there's no pith or life into a lot of conversations that people have. I mean, I listen to conversations all the time, and I mean, if you're talking about the Creator, that's what you call original energy, and just talking about God, I think is it's renewing. It rejuvenates one. And I notice a lot of conversation is just meaningless. Now, the thing is when you start talking about meaningless stuff, a lot of people will chime in to argue or to debate it or whatever. But something like this that's very classic, it's very essential, it's the essence. I mean, it's where human beings came from and how they should live and where they're ultimately going. And now, a lot of people are listening. Debbie points that out. But hopefully more will call in and ask questions or present comments. And I don't know where they were going with that argument about Luke, because I know at one point they say, well, Luke didn't write it, but then that doesn't exclude him from writing it. Well, historically, the Gospel of Luke and Acts have been attributed to actually Dr. Luke. He was a doctor and a historian, and obviously he had great skill at navigation, because the author of Acts knows a lot about navigation, and it deals with the transition of the New Testament church. And like someone said in the chat room, after Jesus' death, the propagation of the gospel. So Acts gives that very necessary bridge, how the church, moved out and moved into the Gentile spheres. And the Apostle Paul, I might say, he's responsible for about 2/3 of the New Testament. How much time do we have, Debbie? How much time are we going?
Let me go look. We are in archive. We have 15 minutes and 26, 25, 24, 23. We have 15 minutes left, sir.
Okay, well, you can. I'm perfectly okay at listening to you and Paul chat, and we can just break it off here at Genesis, I guess, verse 26, chapter 1.
Well,
and
it's
I'll just
funny.
make a note of that, and we can commence there next time.
I know you don't have a lot of time, but I have my 5 books of Moses open, and I was hoping that you
really
would go. I got 26.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
26.
Let's go ahead. I'm going to start with.
And I was kind of hoping that you would play another.
We are. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do number 2. Turn the page over to Genesis chapter 2, and McLean will read from there, and we will pick up when we get back there next Sunday. Here we go.
Genesis chapter 2.
Yeah.
Genesis
I'm never
2.
gonna find
You ready? Hold on.
The heavens and the earth were.
We're going to wait on Paul. Just flip the pages.
Okay, I've got something here that says 26.
Keep going.
It's in Genesis 26.33.
Okay, no. You're in chapter 26. Go way back to the beginning.
Oh, go back. Okay, so you're not up to the lines of Shem or anything like that.
No.
Yet.
Go way back to the beginning. Okay. We'll wait on you.
And I'll ignore this phone call that keeps coming in.
Yeah, I'm ignoring all of mine. So
it goes. So I'm at 2 and 3. So
go to 2.
2. The heaven and the earth.
Yes, we're completed in their vast array. You ready?
I am ready.
Okay, here we go. This is Genesis chapter 2.
Completed in all their vast array. By the 7th day God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating.
I had to stop. Are you in the King James version, sir? The one that King James wrote? Paul?
Me?
Uh-huh.
No, this is...
Look on the outside.
A new translation of the Holy... This is the Jewish Publication Society of America.
Excellent.
It's Torah, the 5 books of Moses. But where did you say you'd like me to look?
Oh, no. I was just wondering what edition you were reading. I think that's excellent. Let's see if I've got that one, the new translation. I love to welcome new people like this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, you said King James wrote. Actually, King James financed it. Those were
You're
scholars.
Right. You're right.
Those were scholars that translated from the best text at the time.
He financed
James
the production of it.
Did not
right?
translate it. He financed it.
He gave the money for them to produce it in so many mass quantities, right? And he made it available to even the women. That was a big deal, remember?
Yeah, he authorized it. A lot of people will say King James wrote it, but that's not true. He authorized scholars to do it. So that's the only comment I was going to make.
Now, I've heard recently that King James edited the Bible that eventually became the King James Bible. Is there any truth to that, or have you heard, or the people that wrote it for King James edited some stuff from the Bible?
Did he, Mr. Solution? Did he edit it, or did he do anything to it?
I think what you may be referring to is that in the original translation, what happened was they left out the word "not," and I think they were fined. Even the publisher or whomever was fined for that. You know, like "thou shalt not," and it was written "thou shalt."
Really?
And so that
Wow.
was an error that was corrected.
Well, I imagine instead of "thou shalt not kill," it said "thou shalt kill," or "thou shalt," or what was it?
Well, actually, the word is, and that's a good point. The word is murder. It's not kill. It's murder, and that's entirely different.
And I think that all Vietnam,
killing of
all veterans of foreign wars should know that, because so many people are so messed up thinking that since they killed people in the foreign wars that they're going to go to hell and all this kind of stuff, and you're not. You did not,
because that's authorized by the state.
Exactly.
And you are just obeying, the law of the land, as it were, unless you are a conscientious objector.
And God even addresses that in the Bible. He addresses that specifically, that specific subject, because my father had had it written up on top of he had it on his wall. He had a thing that my grandmother had made for him because I believe he had to kill some people. But anyway, let's go on and finish reading chapter 2. I just love listening to Max McLean.
I want to just jump in again.
Sure.
I guess this was printed in the 60s, and it was basically, the immigrants who came over in the 1910s and 20s had learned English, and this, because in the old days the immigrants learned our language, but that's for another show. This was originally transcribed in 1917. It was quickly accepted by English-speaking Jews the world over. It is still in use and will no doubt continue to be widely favored. So I guess this is.
Is it a very small book? You mean y'all don't even have Proverbs or Psalms or anything like that?
I've got 5 books of Moses.
That's it? That's all the Torah is?
That's what the Torah is. 5 books of Moses.
I think that's amazing, Mr. Solution.
The Old Testament has more. This would probably be a Mr. Solution question because I don't know the answer, but the Old Testament definitely has more chapters. More is bigger and has books. But the first 5 books of Moses is what the Torah is, or Torah. That's
the Torah. What you may want to do is the Hebrew Old Testament, and if you look at the Septuagint, okay, that's usually that's designated by the L and the 2 X's, which is 70. So it was the 70 translators, Pharisees, scribes, that translated the Hebrew into the Greek, and that's known as the Septuagint. And that particular version was extant at the time of Jesus. In other words, it was in existence. And one of the things that you find about Jesus' day, Jesus never criticized the Scriptures, not one time. And that was absolutely amazing to me. Now, he said, you don't obey it. That's what he told the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Herodians. Those were the 4 groups, official groups that opposed Jesus. But Jesus never had one criticism of the Scriptures. In fact, he said, you search the Scriptures, and for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they that testify of me. So Jesus, and this is what I'm saying because I've gone through textual criticism and this sort of thing. But Jesus, when you read all the writings of Jesus, and he referred to every book in the Old Testament, and he never criticized that they didn't have an accurate rendition, which we have today, of the Scriptures. And they had the Septuagint. Now, the Septuagint being the Jewish Scriptures, Hebrew Scriptures, that were translated into Greek. They were composed of the Pentateuch, or what's called the Torah, and then the Psalms and the Prophets. Those were the 3 divisions of the Hebrew Old Testament.
Well, just looking at the Bible, it's kind of like watching the movie The 10 Commandments, because the last one is Deuteronomy 34. And that's basically when Moses finally, looks like when he finally delivered the people to the promised land after 40 years walking in the desert. I'm just looking over it, but it does seem that the Torah ends there. So I'm not sure what I'm saying, but that's where the Torah ends. Deuteronomy 34.
Did you know that archaeologists have now found rock-solid proof of almost everything that had to do with the Exodus? 100%. You will die when I show you this link. I'm going to show you a link to a YouTube video, and it was on the History Channel. You'll die when you see this. It's unbelievable. It was so freaking true the way it happened. Oh my gosh. Just the way Moses did it. So anyway, that's all.
Okay, so
excuse me, Debbie. I normally don't refer to the Broken Computer Program, but if you can read Monkey Shoe's comment, and if you think it's worthy, give him some about that. You notice his comment?
Let me go look. Hold on, chat. Which one? Oh, the other frustrating thing about Mr. Solutions, and I hope you can ask him about this, Debbie, is that he uses overly complex words. I have a good vocabulary, and he often uses words that I need to look up. I know he uses these phrases by design, but ultimately it makes it harder for him to communicate clearly. Why does he believe that this is a good way of communicating? Stabby, one more and you are grounded. You are grounded, Stabby. Stop it. Okay,
I can understand every single thing this man said.
I just think that Monkey Shoes picks on everybody that comes on my show. He always has and always will. I don't know.
But you know, Debbie, what he defines there is his laziness. He can... Now, I keep dictionary.com just because I have to look up the word vault. I knew what the word... what's the word that he uses? What's the one he uses? The King James? Let me open it up. But anyway, looking up words, it's not a firmament. And I didn't know that vault was a synonym for firmament. What Stabby is expressing is laziness.
Not Stabby, Monkey Shoes.
Oh, Monkey Shoes. I'm sorry. For some reason, I get them cross-wired. But yeah, he just likes to make nonsensical comments. All he has to do, he sits there, is open up dictionary.com. And what word did I use that he didn't understand? I don't think I used an excessively complex word. And sometimes, let me just say this. Now, like when we get into studying the word Lord, which is the word Yahweh, it's the ineffable name that was, it was never translated by the Jews. They just used the vowels. But
those Christian identity pastors only refer to Yahweh as God.
I'm sorry, say again?
These Christian identity pastors that dominate talk show only refer only to Yahweh as God. They don't. They call refer him to God.
They say
they don't call
Yahweh
him.
Is. I hate people that do that, and I don't mean I hate them, but I just can't stand people that do that. They act like they're so much better than us.
So anyway, I was just saying that I've heard a lot of Yahweh, but the name used by negative people to name their God. So it just kind of like put up my flag. Although I understand that God's name is apparently Yahweh.
Oh, whatever. Blow me is what I say to those people. You know what I mean, Paul? That just makes me sick. Those people like that.
I've spent too much time over. I'm a talk show addict. I need to get I need to stay away.
What? Let me just say this to you, and I think this comes from reading, the entire Bible somewhat and being reasonable. But guess what Jesus said? Jesus did not correct the name for Yahweh. There's nothing wrong with it. But Jesus said...
I agree.
Yeah, Jesus... Let me just finish this thought, if you will, please.
Sorry.
Jesus just said, call him Father, which is the Aramaic term Abba, which means daddy. It's a very personal term. So, I mean, there's no problem with studying and finding out the correct information, but trying to use that as some esoteric superiority is inappropriate. Now, I like to learn as much as I can, but I have to, succumb or submit to what Jesus said. And if a person just knows God by the name Father, that's good enough according to Jesus.
Well, he
right?
says...
Because he says when you pray, say, Our Father, who art in heaven, and so on and so forth. But anyway, that's just my... Monkey Shoes is just lazy.
He says that you use complex words when more common phrases would suffice, and all you're doing, Mr. Solution, is creating a gap in your audience. It's like having a conversation with a goddamn thesaurus.
Well, what Monkey Shoes should do is bring his lazy ass on and stop being a chat rat. And he can repeat what I say in terms that he feels are more communicable. What about that?
Monkey Shoes, did you hear what he said? Sometimes we talk to our chat room. I think we're on a 20-second delay. Stabby and I could just go round and around all day arguing about things.
I'm just curious, since I'm not in that chat room, am I coming out okay here?
You sound wonderful.
No, I mean, am I getting ripped at all in the chat room?
No, I haven't seen the word Paul. Have y'all? What do y'all think about Paul, guys? I'm scrolling up. I don't see anything except Stabby is just really.
And probably now that I asked, I'm sorry, Debbie.
Now they will.
Yeah, exactly.
Stabby's killing us here. He's going, the Greek-speaking readers of the Old Testament wrote Jesus' miracles based on the mistranslated Hebrew text. That is why the Jew knew better that Jesus was not the Messiah. The Psalms and the Proverbs, Lamentations, and Prophets. Ezra is the final editor of the Old Testament. Exodus was a small group of Levites. There is no evidence for millions of Jews in the desert for 40 years. Debbie is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, although I think she's wrong. No, I'm joking. They all said, about the last part, they said Paul is a sweetie. That came from Monkey Shoes, and he never says anything. And Stabby says he's dropping the knowledge. So they're just being kind of funny right now. But no, they so far, you're getting a great big thumbs up from everybody in my